What's going on, everyone? Conservative Video Dipper here. If you got a dip, back lip. If you don't got one, I got one already in for you. Thanks to Tim, I got some Grizzly Long Gut Wintergreen today. Bless your heart, Tim. Thank you so much. Everyone, put a W in the chat for Tim. What a sweet guy. Alright, we're not doing dip video, or we're not going to get too political, but we are going to get a little political. I'm going to do a tier list of different politicians and presidents that I think belong on certain tiers. Now, there is going to be a very special tier that's called the Golden Star tier. That's where people deserve to be there because they not only have dedicated their time and their life to us, but have helped make America better, making America great. Some even before that slogan was invented, and one that did create the slogan. But we'll figure out who those Golden Star tier go to. But first, let's go to A tier. All of our forefathers. That's all of our forefathers. The ones that wrote the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, we have to put them in our A tier. And they only go in that A tier, not the golden tier, because honestly, if I put too many people in one golden tier, it's going to look like I'm pretty biased, and I don't want to be. I want to, spread it out thin, because we got a little ways to go. But they belong up in the A tier, because A, of course, is for awesome, and they did an awesome job of not only fighting against the British to make America the way that it is now, where we have our rights and our liberties that shall not and will not be infringed by our government or any tyrannical force of any sort that would like to impede into our rights. And there was a lot of sweat, blood, and tears made and given for us to be able to enjoy what we can enjoy today. And I think they deserve that. They deserve that tier. Now, I will go and put the one guy on that Gold Star tier before anyone else is talked about. That's Ronald Reagan. Now, Reagan honestly deserves that gold tier because not only was he a Hollywood actor, allegedly before his time in office, but he didn't use that Hollywood privilege because he was able to get to where he was by work. He worked his way by sweat, blood, and tears to create a better America, to tell Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. And that wall was torn down. He was not a Democrat or a Republican. He was a conservative. And in that time, that was probably very rare. That's honestly something that you will never see probably ever again happen in our lifetime. A conservative winning. And for that, he deserves that Gold Star tier, the higher than A tier, because he did everything he needed to do to take care of America. He even warned us that socialism would come in the form of liberalism before it ever existed, almost like he knew this was coming, and we don't even know how to explain how he knew it was coming. This guy may have been an alleged time traveler. I'm just joking. I don't think he was. But honestly, Reagan knew what needed to be done. And he did. He took care of America. he dealt with problems correctly, efficiently, and without even hesitation in his brain and in his mind. He didn't ask questions. He just did what he had to do. And I'm going to be honest with you. There will be somebody that is a Democrat that will go in A tier. But we'll talk about him in a minute. But because not only Reagan was the right, perfect pick of president for that gold star tier, we have to go down back to the A tier. And that would be for A tier, John F. Kennedy, a Democrat. Whoa, hold on, conservative. I thought you didn't like Democrats. Oh, whew. Well, here's the thing. He wasn't just a Democrat. He was a good Democrat. He was a working class Democrat. He was for us. So, my fellow Americans, I say to you, ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country can do for you. A speech that will always be remembered in the hearts of the people in the 60s or 70s. I think it was in the 60s, somewhere in there. 60s or 70s. But this guy, sure, he was a Democrat, but he wasn't progressive. He wasn't liberal Democratic at that time. He was about doing the right thing. He was a Democrat that had the brain capacity to think that the people needed something, then let's get it done. If our government is doing allegedly something tyrannical, then we got to deal with it. And he deserves that tier indefinitely, because not only that, but the fact that he may have allegedly been assassinated because he knew too much. He knew that the alleged deep state was doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And they kind of offed him for it. Now, we're not going to go into conspiracy theories of his alleged assassination, because they're still, I don't know if they're still going to investigate it due to how really weird it was. But there's a lot of things that I can go into on that. But he deserved it because he was one of those presidents that made the greatest speech, and it hits home with us. It's a home hitter, because that speech will always, if you were born in that era, you will always remember. Or if your parents were born in that era or were alive during that time, you guys would always remember that speech. That speech always hit hard with you. Because, again, not because he's just Democratic, but he was a Democrat that was just like RFK Jr. He wants to work for the people. He wants the people to be happy. He's not for the government. He's for us, we the people. And that's kind of where, RFK really gets that A tier. Because to me, it's a Democrat that is not like today. He was a good Democrat. And he backed every single one of us up. He backed America up. He never put us in a position that we should have never been in. But some of these other ones kind of deserve the low grade tier. Like, for instance, Richard Nixon. He gets the F tier. Because Richard Nixon, honestly, he was not just because he was a very dirty Republican, but I don't really think there was much he did for us. And one of the things is that he gets that F tier was because of what he did, the Watergate shit. The Watergate stuff, if he wouldn't have done it, if he would have been a Republican that actually handled business and went about business the way it should have been. He could have gotten a little bit better grade. But honestly, because I think Nixon, always tried to play it off as I didn't do it, I didn't know about it, it shows how kind of crooked he was. And yes, again, I am going to call out Republicans and Democrats. So this here will show you that I am equally calling out shit that needs to be called out. And I'm putting these presidents on tiers that they belong on to not only show you that, hey, this is where I kind of stand, but it shows all of us that we can all agree on multiple different things. That, yes, Nixon, to me, really honestly didn't stand out as one of the greatest presidents. And it wasn't because he was a Republican, but it was because he was a dirty Republican. He was one of those Republicans that was a cheater. He was a very slick snake oil salesman type guy. He was one of those kind of presidents that you probably would almost feel obligated to believe anything he would say. So, sadly, he gets the F tier. Now, another president that will go on the F tier is Bill Clinton. Now, Bill Clinton gets the F tier because, no, he's not because he's a Democrat, but because part of it was the allegations against him. And, excuse me. And because he really didn't do anything for America. The only thing he probably really was good at was playing that saxophone, and you could probably ask his wife. His wife would probably tell you that she thinks that him playing the saxophone is pretty sexy. It's not. It's vanilla. If Clinton would have stayed out of issues with Monica Lewinsky and some of the alleged allegations against him, he would have made it. He would have honestly made it. But a lot of the things I noticed when I was looking up Clinton stuff while getting ready to make this list, I had to see a lot of the nasty things that kind of were put behind him. And I don't think a lot of it, honestly, made him look any better. It made him worse. He just didn't care about America. He was all about progressivism and just doing what he wanted. Another president that kind of will go there too would be Obama. Now, Obama really honestly deserved it, again, not because he's a Democrat, but because he didn't do anything. His Obamacare could have been better, maybe. They could have maybe done a little bit more testing on it to see if it was really ready to be thrown out to the general public. He couldn't have done any worse with it, because that was just a terrible idea, letting it go out a little too prematurely. And he could have done better. He said a lot of things, that made Americans believe that he would be the greatest thing that give us all hope. And he ran on the word hope. And he didn't give us hope. He basically kind of gave us virtual signaling, click words, and just kind of typical bullcrap narratives that he never stood on. And on top of that, he's allegedly not even American. So, and there's a lot of controversy behind him. And I know a lot of liberals are going to cry on the first one that I go to. But the other one that I do have to kind of put on that list too is Joe Biden on the F tier. Joe Biden hits the F tier, again, not because he's a Democrat, but because his policies sucked. He was just kind of an alleged pedo. He took showers allegedly with his daughter. Sure, those are bad things, but honestly, him saying the N-word and then allegedly being friends with a Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klans, which is terrible enough as it is, and saying if you don't know the difference between me and Trump, you ain't black. What the fuck, Biden? Really? Dude, and I don't get me wrong, I do feel pity for the old poor bastard because, alleged senior abuse because of his family, allegedly forcing him to be there, but it still doesn't negate what he has done and what he has said and who he was allegedly connected with in past. And therefore, I cannot, it's unexcusable. Now, one of the presidents that will go on beads here will be George Bush Sr. Senior, for me, I was born during the Operation Desert Storm era, 1991. I was a 91 baby. So, okay. So I'm not that old. I'm not a boomer. Like allegedly Tim is. Tim's an alleged boomer. But I think Bush Sr. handled a lot more of the problems with like Iraqi oil problems, and he dealt with issues that needed to be dealt with correctly. I think Bush Sr. really had a general idea of what it was needed to be done for us, and he had that idea, and that was his whole go-to thing. Was he didn't act like a klutz like his alleged son did, but he was a little bit smarter. He had more tactics within his presidency of how to metaphorically attack a situation at hand that was really a big problem, and especially like the Operation Desert Storm situation that was dealt with. A lot of people will disagree that we should have never been in there, but at the same time, there was a situation that did need to be dealt with, and he dealt with it the correct way. But his son, however, will go kind of in between the C tier, between C to F. Because here again, it's not because he's a Republican, but it's because partially of what he did. That kind of, to me, I supported him for a while. My family kind of supported him, and I understood why. He was kind of a better choice than not at that time. But how he handled 9/11, and then not just that, but saying alleged weapons of mass destruction existed, when kind of still to this day, do we even know if they were really there? We don't. They may have been, but they weren't there. And that's kind of not good. He threw us in a war that really we didn't need to be in. He put our troops on boots on ground when they shouldn't have been, until we knew that there was really a reason to be there. And honestly, his policies were good. He did good with policies. He did good with a lot of some other things. But not just that, but, him allegedly being connected to certain other things. And there's allegations, too, that his alleged wife, Laura, is connected to Aleister Crowley, a occultist, a very, very demonic occultist. Go look him up. If you know anything about Aleister Crowley, you will find out how bad that dude is. But I don't even want to go into, conspiracy theories. I just want to go into, what really he did and what he didn't do for our country. That is more the kind of quintessential concern for us than just conspiracies. So honestly, he kind of gets into the C tier because of that. But other than that, if he would have handled a lot of things better, if he would have done some things better, I probably could have put him in the B tier. But he should have done better. Now, one more president that I'm going to mention that will go into gold tier, and I know I gave a lot of shit for Clinton, Obama, and Joe, but, and I know a lot of liberals are going to say, well, why don't you put him in that same tier with all the others? Why? Because he's your alleged daddy or whatever. But no, it's because he honestly still is sticking with his promises. He's still doing what he's got to do. He's making America great again. You know who I'm talking about. For all you crybaby liberals out there, Donald J. Trump, he's going on top tier. Now, I know you liberal crybabies are going to freak the fuck out on this one. I know there's a lot of controversy behind Trump, and I get it. The alleged Epstein, the alleged rape allegations, the alleged sexual harassment, the alleged cheating on his wife. I get it. I understand. So did Obama. But Obama allegedly cheated on his husband with another dude. So, but it's not really because of those are the quintessential things that are making it the worst for them, or the worst reasons for them to be on that list. But it's because what Trump is honestly doing for us. Trump is making America great. Trump is doing a lot of things like exposing the deep state, exposing government entities that are not doing their job, that are not following through, that are lying, allegedly lying, cheating, and being corrupt. And he's exposing these things as need be. And Trump deserves to be on that gold tier with Reagan, because not just Reagan talked about it, but even Trump mentioned it multiple times, that this whole liberalism in the form of socialism needs to end. It needs to just go away, disappear, and go a poof to the abyss. But not just those reasons, but because honestly, Trump isn't really a politician. He's a businessman. And he's always stuck to his guns when it comes, metaphorically, to when it comes down to him saying something, he's going to do it. He's going to be about it. He's never said, honestly, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. He's never mentioned those words, whether they're objective or subjective or ambiguously. He's never said it. He's always mentioned 1,000 times that he's here to make America better, to help American people continue to fight for the rights of the American dream, the American way, a capitalistic state. He believes in our amendments that shall not and will not ever be infringed, whether they're from our own government or a tyrannical source of any alleged sorts. And that's what I stand behind Trump with the most, is because, yes, there is one Democrat that is on A tier, and I do give credit to JFK and RFK Jr. too. He deserves to kind of be on the A tier a little bit, because they've done a lot. But Trump has done so much more, I think, for our country. And I think our country definitely has benefited the most when it comes to Trump being honest. His integrity is there. Yes, he has done some questionable things. But honestly, I think a lot of presidents have done some questionable things. I'm not going to say that all of them allegedly have or have not done it, but I'm sure there has been many that have. But when it comes to Trump, he doesn't let it affect him. He knows better. He knows to keep himself on that straight, narrow path of just doing what needs to be done, doing his job, letting him and his team meet up, have discussions, have conversations with leaders like Putin, South Korea, China, Iran, and Ukraine, having conversations with those people, those presidents or those leaders, to make a agreement that, hey, if we don't touch you, you don't touch us. So there you go. So that's my list of presidents that I see that really are beneficial, that kind of deserve that list of where they should be. And again, I know it sounds like I'm a little impartial because I put Trump and Reagan on the top and 2 Democrats on the A tier and some other Democrats on the F tier. But honestly, I'm giving you my honest narrative of how I see these presidents and why they deserve good attention and bad attention. And it makes you guys kind of think a little bit more to understand that we've had good presidents, we've had bad presidents. It's gonna happen, but we just gotta be better ourselves. So anyway, I love you guys. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.